What if death is not the end? What if the final breath you take in this world is merely the beginning of a journey more vivid, more terrifying, and more transcendent than anything you've ever imagined? Across time and culture, humans have asked the same unyielding question: what happens after we die? And while modern science offers silence and religion offers comfort, there exists a third path, an ancient, esoteric map of the afterlife that claims to unveil the truth. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, known in its native tongue as Bardo Thodol, is not just a spiritual manuscript. It is a guide for the soul read aloud at the moment of death to help the departed navigate the mysterious realms that lie beyond the veil. But this is no ordinary afterlife. The Bardo word, meaning in-between state, is a multidimensional realm filled with radiant deities, shadowy illusions, karmic projections, and soul-shaking trials. According to this sacred text, the journey between death and rebirth spans 49 days, a liminal window where liberation is possible, but far from guaranteed. In this video, we will venture deep into the mystical teachings of the Bardo Thodol. We will uncover the secret phases of the after-death experience, the terrifying beauty of the clear light, the symbolic beings that challenge or guide the soul, and most importantly, how these teachings are not just about what happens after death, but how you live right now. Because according to Tibetan masters, death is not the opposite of life. It is the mirror of it. Prepare yourself not for fantasy, but for a revelation. A secret once whispered only in hidden temples and echoed in sacred caves is now being brought to light. Are you ready to remember what your soul has long forgotten? To understand the Bardo Thodol, we must journey back not just in time, but into a world where life, death, and consciousness were not separate concepts, but part of a grand continuum. The origins of the Tibetan Book of the Dead trace back to an esoteric branch of Buddhism known as Dzogchen, or Great Perfection. Unlike mainstream religious teachings, Dzogchen does not seek salvation in a heaven or liberation in a future life. Instead, it points directly to the innate, luminous awareness present within every being right now. The Bardo Thodol was said to be revealed by Padmasambhava, a tantric master who, in the 8th century, brought Buddhism to Tibet and infused it with local Bon shamanic wisdom. But this wasn't simply a missionary's work, it was a metaphysical revolution. Padmasambhava encoded the teachings in what the Tibetans call terma, or hidden treasures, which were later discovered by spiritually attuned beings known as tertents, those destined to bring these secrets forth when the world was ready. One such terten, Karmalingpa, is credited with discovering the Bardo Thodol in the 14th century. The text was not written as a philosophical treatise, but as a guidebook for the soul, read aloud to the dying and recently deceased. It was believed that even in the disembodied state, the soul retains subtle hearing, allowing these sacred words to orient and liberate it. But here's where it gets profound. This isn't just myth. These teachings are deeply experiential. Tibetan lamas did not merely believe these teachings, they practiced death daily through advanced meditations like phawa and dream yoga. They trained to recognize illusions, dissolve ego, and face the deathless light of consciousness. The Bardo Thodol was their roadmap not to escape death, but to awaken through it. From a philosophical standpoint, the text offers a radically different view from the linear Western model of death. There is no eternal judgment, no static heaven or hell. Instead, death is a process, a transitional space that reveals the true nature of mind. This transitional state is broken into 3 primary bardos. 1. The Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death, where the clear light appears. 2. The Chonyad Bardo, visions of wrathful and peaceful deities, projections of one's own consciousness. 3. The Sidpa Bardo, the phase of karmic rebirth and the pull toward a new incarnation. Each of these states is a reflection shaped entirely by one's karma, attachments, and spiritual maturity. The terrifying deities that appear, they are not external demons, but projections of the mind unable to face its own essence. The tragedy? Most people fail to recognize the illusions. The opportunity? With awareness, liberation is possible at any stage. But why, you may wonder, has such wisdom remained hidden from mainstream spiritual discourse? Because this knowledge requires responsibility. It asks us to prepare not just for death, but for the kind of living that makes conscious dying possible. It rejects blind faith in favor of inner awakening. And perhaps most radically, it tells us, you are not the body, not even the mind, but the awareness that sees both come and go. As civilizations lost touch with inner knowledge and turned outward toward conquest, dogma, and control, this intimate science of the soul faded into mystery whispered only in monasteries carved into Himalayan cliffs, guarded by those who understood its sacred power. And now, you're hearing it. To truly grasp what happens after death according to the Bardo Thodol, we must understand that the soul's journey is not linear. It unfolds in phases of revelation, like a lotus opening petal by petal. Each stage strips away another layer of illusion, confronting the consciousness with the unfiltered truth of its own being. Let us begin at the threshold. The first Bardo, Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death. As the physical body breathes its last, a great unraveling begins. In Tibetan tradition, this is when the elements of the body earth, water, fire, air, and space begin to dissolve, one into the next. It's not poetic metaphor, it's a symbolic guide to the actual sensations the soul may experience as life slips away. Earth dissolves into water, a sense of heaviness, weakness in limbs. Water into fire, bodily warmth fades, mouth dries. Fire into air, breath grows faint, light dims. Air into space, the final breath, and silence. And then, a sudden brilliance. This is the clear light of ultimate reality, the unconditioned, radiant awareness that is your true nature. According to the Bardo Thodol, if the consciousness can recognize and merge with this light, instant liberation is possible. No rebirth, no wandering, no suffering. You are free. But herein lies the tragedy. Most souls, overwhelmed by this intense brilliance, fail to recognize it. They turn away, pulled by fear, attachment, or confusion. And so, they fall into the second phase of the journey. The second Bardo, Chunid Bardo, the Hall of Mirrors. This is the most surreal and symbolic realm. Here, the consciousness begins to experience visions grand, terrifying, majestic, none of which are real in the physical sense, but all of which feel utterly convincing. It begins with the peaceful deities' manifestations of compassion, wisdom, and serenity. They radiate calm and offer guidance. But if these visions go unrecognized, the soul is soon confronted with the wrathful deities' fearsome forms with multiple heads, flaming auras, and blood-stained weapons. These entities are not meant to punish. They are mirrors, reflections of the parts of ourselves we refuse to face in life. In truth, both the peaceful and wrathful beings are projections of our own mind stream karmic imprints, repressed emotions, unintegrated energies. This phase is not just a trial, it is an opportunity. With training, one can recognize these visions as illusions. In doing so, liberation can still be attained. But again, most fail. Why? Because the mind clings to what is familiar. Even in death, we are creatures of habit. Fear pulls us away from the light. Attachment binds us to form. And so, the wheel turns. Time works differently in the Bardo. In this in-between realm, time does not flow like a river. It is more like a dream fluid, symbolic, shaped by the consciousness perceiving it. What seems like days may be moments. What feels eternal may pass in a blink. This is why the Bardo Thodol is read aloud each day for 49 days after a person's death. These 49 days are not arbitrary. They represent the maximum period a soul may remain in the Bardo before rebirth becomes inevitable. Each day is like a door, and at every threshold, the soul is given a choice: awaken or sleep again. The role of recognition. Recognition is everything. You are not expected to fight demons or solve riddles. You are asked only to remember to recognize the nature of what you see, and more importantly, the nature of the one who is seeing. In that moment of recognition, even the most terrifying deity dissolves into light. Even the thickest illusion fades. Even karma bows before awareness. But without this recognition, the soul continues its descent into the third phase, the Bardo of becoming, and with it, the pull of rebirth. Now we enter the most precarious stretch of the journey, the Sidpa Bardo, the third and final phase before rebirth. By this point, the soul has missed two opportunities for liberation: first, through merging with the clear light, and second, by recognizing the illusions of the peaceful and wrathful deities. What follows is not punishment, but momentum. A kind of spiritual gravity begins to take hold. This is the Bardo of becoming the realm of craving, confusion, and karmic winds. The pull toward rebirth. Here, the soul no longer experiences the radiant visions of higher realms. Instead, it begins to feel a desperate yearning and urge to be something again, to take form. It may wander aimlessly, like a dreamer drifting through fog, chasing flickers of light that resemble life, familiar places, loved ones, regrets left unresolved. According to the Bardo Thodol, this phase is deeply psychological. The soul's deepest desires, fears, and attachments begin to shape the terrain. It becomes obsessed with identity, with narrative, with continuity, wanting to reincarnate, to return to something tangible. And so, it seeks out a womb. This is not metaphorical. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes the process by which a soul is drawn to its next life, magnetized by the karmic imprint of unresolved tendencies. Often, it is said, the soul will witness potential parents in the act of union and, depending on its karmic inclinations, feel either desire or aversion, thus determining its gender and form in the next life. But here's the mystical twist. Even now, liberation is still possible. The moment of choice. At the threshold of rebirth, if the soul can recognize the illusion of form and let go of craving, it can still awaken, this time by rejecting birth. In this split moment, an opening appears. But few ever see it. Most souls, overtaken by desire or aversion, fall headfirst into the cycle of samsarathi wheel of life, death, and rebirth. It's crucial to understand. Rebirth is not punishment. It's simply unawareness solidified into form. The ego clings to identity, and the universe responds in kind, offering another body, another storyline, another chance to remember. Paradoxes and hidden teachings. Now, here is where the Bardo Thodol becomes truly esoteric. It tells us that what we perceive after death is no different from what we experience in life. It is all a projection of mind. The terrifying deities, the heavenly lights, the craving for rebirth, they are manifestations of your own consciousness. And if that's true, then death is not some sacred exception. It is a continuation of the same illusion we face every day. The Bardo realms are not elsewhere. They are here, veiled by your current state of awareness. In this way, the Book of the Dead is not about death at all. It is about waking up from the dream of form, the prison of ego, the cycle of fear. This is why Tibetan lamas spend their lives preparing for death, not out of morbidity, but because they know that the moment of death reveals the truth most clearly. And if the mind is trained to recognize it, it can break the cycle forever. Alternative interpretations and common misconceptions. Some modern interpretations reduce the Bardo Thodol to mythology or cultural artifact. But those who've engaged in deep meditation, near-death experiences, or psychedelic exploration often report experiences eerily similar to the stages described: dissolution of self, radiant light, archetypal visions, the feeling of being pulled towards something unknown. Is it possible that the Bardo Thodol is not a fantasy, but a precise map of consciousness? Others mistakenly believe the text is fatalistic, that once you miss your chance at the clear light, it's over. Not so. The Tibetan tradition emphasizes multiple doors to awakening. Every moment, even the darkest, holds a spark of potential. The question is, can you see it? The Bardo Thodol invites us not to fear death, but to study Ito, make it an ally, a mirror, a master. For in understanding what comes after, we learn how to live now, awake, aware, and unbound. What good is esoteric wisdom if it cannot touch your daily life? The teachings of the Bardo Thodol are not meant to be locked away in temples or whispered only to the dying. They are practical, alive, designed to awaken your awareness now, so that when the moment of death comes, you meet it like an old friend. Let's bring this ancient map into the present. 1. Meditate on death, daily. This may sound grim at first, but in Tibetan Buddhism, reflecting on impermanence is one of the most liberating practices. Each morning or evening, take 5 minutes to sit in silence and contemplate this truth. One day I will die, I do not know when. Not with fear, but with presence. Ask, if today were my last day, what remains unspoken, unloved, unfinished? This sharpens your clarity. It burns away the trivial and strengthens the sacred. Over time, this reflection doesn't cause anxiety, it breeds peace. You begin to live fully because you are no longer pretending you are eternal. 2. Practice dream yoga and lucid awareness. According to Tibetan wisdom, your dreams are the rehearsal halls of death. In both, the body sleeps, the world dissolves, and you are left alone with mind. Before sleep, tell yourself, "Tonight I will recognize the dream." Then, throughout the day, ask, "Am I dreaming?" Not just to question reality, but to build the habit of awareness. Why? Because in the Bardo, recognition is salvation. And if you can wake up in a dream, you are training yourself to wake up in death. Start simple. Keep a dream journal. Look for patterns. Try to recognize fear or wonder without clinging to them. Over time, you'll realize that every state of consciousness, waking, dreaming, dying, just made of the same fabric, awareness. 3. The Phawa practice, conscious dying. Phawa is an advanced Tibetan meditation in which the practitioner trains to transfer their consciousness at the moment of death. The goal? To direct the soul toward the clear light, bypassing confusion, bypassing fear. You don't need to be a monk to begin. The essence of Phawa is intentional dying, mentally rehearsing the moment of death, visualizing your consciousness as a beam of light rising through the crown of your head, merging with the vast sky of awareness. With guidance, this can become a transformative practice, not just for you, but for those you love. You can even assist the dying with this practice by gently reading or chanting phrases from the Bardo Thodol, helping their soul stay calm, centered, and open to liberation. 4. Reduce attachment now, not later. The Bardo Thodol teaches that your death experience is a direct reflection of your attachments. Anger becomes wrathful deities. Clinging becomes terrifying illusions. Desire pulls you back into form. So the work starts now. Observe your triggers. Notice what you can't let go of. Is it identity, status, control? Freedom in the Bardo begins with inner detachment in life. Not indifference, but presence without grasping. When you train to witness your emotions without being consumed, you are practicing for the greatest journey you will ever take. 5. Create a conscious dying plan. Just as we prepare for weddings, careers, and children, we can prepare for death. Leave behind not just legal documents, but spiritual instructions. Choose someone to read sacred texts or play mantras. Clarify your wishes for a peaceful space. Let loved ones know you want presence, not panic. Dying consciously is not a luxury of monks, it's a right of every being. And by planning now, you take death off the shelf of taboo and place it where it belongs, as the final act of conscious living. Remember, the Bardo is not just something that awaits you. You walk through Bardos every time your reality shifts through heartbreak, illness, loss, ecstasy, stillness. And in each of these, you are being trained to wake up. So now, we return to the question that first called us here. What happens after death? The Bardo Thodol does not offer a simple answer, it offers a mirror, one that reflects not just the afterlife, but the very fabric of your present awareness. It whispers that death is not the end, nor the enemy, it is a doorway. And like all doorways, what lies beyond depends on how we enter it. You have seen the map. The clear light that reveals your true nature. The visions and deities, both peaceful and wrathful, that test your recognition. The cravings and karmic winds that pull you toward rebirth. And at each stage, a hidden chance, a key waiting to unlock liberation. But the greatest secret of all? You are in the Bardo right now. Every moment of uncertainty, every shift in identity, every dream, heartbreak, or transformation is a Bardo, a liminal space, a chance to awaken. Death only magnifies what we practice in life. If you cultivate awareness now, you will carry that awareness into the great unknown. If you meet fear now with presence, you will meet the wrathful visions with grace. If you learn to let go now, you will glide through the thresholds with lightness. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is not about death, it's about liberation. And that liberation begins not in the final breath, but in this one. If this journey has stirred something within you, share it. Speak of death not with dread, but with depth. Contemplate it, prepare for it, honor it. And when the time comes, may you walk the path with eyes wide open. What would change in your life if you truly believed death was not the end, but the awakening? If this video brought clarity to your path, consider liking, subscribing, or sharing it with someone who needs to hear this truth. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and keep walking between the veils.